This is an amazing story of survival.
The kidnapping unfolds as another shopper walks by.
The video is haunting. Monday, September 4th, 2017, just after 11:30 p.m., Carrollton, Georgia. A young woman walks into a grocery store. 11 minutes later, she heads back to her car.
As she exited the store, the unthinkable happened.
She has no idea that she's being followed by a stranger who sneaks up on her, forces her into the passenger's seat, then disappears out of the parking lot. Where is he taking her? At 11:57 p.m., a witness dials 911.
911, how can I help you?
I saw some weird situation. He grabbed her by the actual shoulder, and he had something in his right arm. It did not make sense.
So you think he kidnapped her?
A patrol car is dispatched to check things out, but finds nothing suspicious. Then, at 2 a.m., Tamir Bryant is woken up by a disturbing text from his girlfriend, 21-year-old Jayla Gladden, a student at the University of West Georgia.
That was the most scared I've been in my life.
Jayla, who Tamir has on his phone under her affectionate name Fat Face, has sent a location pin. It says she's in Atlanta, but that's 50 miles away. And the last thing he knew, she was only 10 minutes away.
She told me she wasn't feeling too well. She wanted to go get medicine from the store. We should be right back. I just fell asleep. So then I was immediately worried. Why did you send that? Where you at?
Jayla's response is chilling. She writes just one word: kidnapped. Tamir responds, stop playing. And then Jayla writes something that makes his blood run cold. On God.
Which is a slang term that we use. It just means, I'm being completely serious.
Within minutes, Tamir storms into the Carrollton police station, accompanied by a group of their worried friends.
I banged on all of her roommates' doors. Just yelled, Jayla's been kidnapped.
While they are en route, more terrifying texts come from Jayla. Knife. Scared. And as Tamir shows them to police, his emotions veer from anger to panic. Then, things get even worse. Jayla writes, I don't want him to kill me. Now, police know the clock is ticking.
I said, I've got to find her quick before something bad happens.
By 2:30 a.m. on September 5th, authorities in both Carrollton and Atlanta, along with the Secret Service, are all frantically searching for Jayla.
We were just moving as fast as we could to try to save her life.
They know that Jayla is in her own car, a green Honda Accord, and that she's using her phone to secretly give information to her boyfriend, Tamir.
She was very brave. She was very smart because information she was giving her boyfriend was immediate.
But as authorities try to trace Jayla's phone in order to pinpoint her exact location, things become increasingly alarming.
Oh, wait a second. She's moving now. She is?
Jayla writes, might put me in trunk. And at 2:42 a.m., she types, don't let me die, and then goes eerily silent.
So that was because I couldn't do anything.
Then, just before 4 a.m., police get a break. They locate Jayla and her kidnapper in a parking lot at an apartment complex in Atlanta. But as they rush in to save her, Jayla's kidnapper spots them and hits the gas.
I heard someone yelling, and then I heard some kind of screeching.
Within seconds, all hell breaks loose. As police chase him, the kidnapper slams into one car after another.
This car was like speeding. He kept hitting cars and going. He hit a police car and kept going. It was like a scene from a movie. So the police officer, tried to get this person to stop, and then they even pulled out their weapon to get them to stop, but the car kept going, and it curved around, and then it was going the opposite way. And I could tell the person did not know our premises because there's one way in and one way out. I thought, oh my God, he doesn't know that there's no way out. And the way he was acting was so crazy already. You know, he was trapped and obviously very desperate.
Then, as the kidnapper frantically tries to get out of the parking lot, there's another loud crash. As police run around the corner, the kidnapper jumps out of the car. And then, so does Jayla. She runs towards them, pointing at the fence, then collapses into one of the officer's arms.
I gave the officer that was there a hug. I just didn't see myself being rescued.
Jayla's kidnapper is gone. He has scaled the fence. Police identify him as 28-year-old Timothy Wilson, a felon who's recently been released from prison after serving time for theft. As they hunt for him, Jayla is rushed to a hospital. 3 years later, her terrifying ordeal is still difficult to talk about. It all begins when a strange man approaches the college student asking for a lighter.
I told him I didn't have one, so I continued to walk to my car, and I felt something in like my abdomen area.
With a knife to her stomach, Jayla gets her first chilling look at her kidnapper.
I had a moment of just like a stare into his eyes. And then that's when I knew I was in trouble. You could tell he just didn't care.
And that is only the beginning of what will be 4 absolutely horrifying hours. After hiding Jayla's phone under his seat, Wilson announces that he's taking her to Atlanta. As he drives, he keeps the knife frighteningly close, just inches away from Jayla.
I was holding my breath. I was extremely angry. I was just going to get tea. Why is this happening to me? I'm sick. I left the parking lot not even knowing if I was going to go back to my boyfriend or school.
The most horrific part of Jayla's ordeal comes when Timothy Wilson pulls into an empty church parking lot, violently assaults her, then sits her on a playground bench.
It was like a 2-tier bench, so I was on the bottom and then he was on the top with his arm around my neck. So that's when he proceeded to tell me that it would be easier to kill me, you know, because there was nobody around. Yeah. And that's when I started to, you know, tell him that I wouldn't tell anybody and that all he had to do was let me go. He could have my car, he could have my phone. I just wanted to be left alone. And he just kept telling me that I wasn't an option. And then I tried to plead a little bit longer, and then he told me to be quiet. Law and Order Special Victims Unit is my go-to show for absolutely anything. Olivia Benson is definitely the reason that I could stay as calm and collected and still be able to think through such a hectic situation, because you never know what the other person is thinking. So I felt like talking to him was the only thing, you know, I could actually do. You know, hopefully I could have got through to him and made him feel, you know, I'm human too.
But somehow, Jayla still bravely manages to strategize. When Wilson tells her that he needs to go to Michigan, she convinces him to give her phone back so she can help him with directions.
The first thing I did was turn my brightness down on my phone, and then I shared my location to my boyfriend.
The next few hours are unbearable. Wilson stops at several locations to case stores that he wants to rob, and each time forces Jayla into the trunk and takes her phone away again. Jayla begins to lose hope. Silently, she prays that the messages she has sent to her boyfriend will work.
Where we were parked, he had me sitting in his lap, and I braced myself for having the knife touch me again.
But then they see flashlights, and Wilson desperately tries to get away.
He has the knife in his hand, ends up like cutting his hand, and then he jumps out and runs and jumps the fence.
Finally, Jayla is free. As she runs towards the police, sobbing in relief, the very first thing she does is call Tamir.
She literally finds the strength to FaceTime my phone. When I answered the phone, she's running.
Wilson is arrested on a park bench in Atlanta less than 12 hours after Jayla is rescued and sentenced 9 months later.
The man who kidnapped and sexually assaulted a college student in Carrollton will now spend the rest of his life in prison.
For Jayla, it's a night she will never be able to forget. But she also knows how brave she was and is grateful that her quick thinking very likely saved another victim.
If it wasn't me that night, it would have been somebody else who he might have killed.
Surprisingly, Jayla isn't the only brave young kidnapped victim who feels that way. Coming up, another shocking story of extraordinary survival.
Gone in 30 seconds.